Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, we are in the shop today and the Silverado is still behind us. The Corvette is still at the shop at the dyno. And so today we'll be kicking up another project for the truck. I've actually been sitting on some of these parts for close to a year. And actually I'm kind of glad because I was checking out some of the parts. Some of them, they haven't been discontinued. They're just kind of like on permanent back order. So what we'll be working on today is actually adding a factory switch so that we can add some powered accessories. Now, if you guys have a 2500, your truck already might be wired for this. And what I'm talking about is the GM auxiliary switch kit. Now, like I said, your 2500 might actually already have this. 2500, 3500 might have the switch, but I don't think it has all the parts under the dash for you to get this kit to work. So what we'll be doing today is using a combination of old parts, new parts, old technology to new technology. And what I'm talking about is basically the mid-year refresh for the 22. The Silverados came with all that refresh. Basically what that is, that's the newer dashboard, the newer screen. I think the steering wheel is the same, and the all-digital gauge cluster on the inside. But yeah, so when they did that, they actually changed where they mount this auxiliary switch. And actually this is the newer switch. The other one was smaller. It didn't have these kind of trapezoid triangular shapes on the end of that. So, and where they put these switches is actually right under the radio. I'll have a clip picture here from the Upfitter guide. And so yeah, basically what this is going to be 4 switches, and then the 5th switch on the older models used to be able to tie up into the roof rack. I think for the 22.5 or the 22.5 or newer, you know, the refresh, I think they got rid of that option. So if you guys had a towing plow service or a construction company where you had like a caution light on the top, I think they've eliminated that. I can't really be sure, but I read somewhere that I think they've eliminated that. So I did see where a guy had mentioned he had pulled some harness out of this 5th switch, and he was actually able to make it functional so that you're able to have 5 full switches. I'd have to do more research on that. I don't know that for now, but we'll get into that later if we ever want to. So what we've got here obviously is the switch. We've got the harness. This is going to be the underhood power harness. This is going to be the in-car auxiliary fuse box. And then right here is going to be the fuses that go under the hood. Part number for the fuses is 84669070. And part number for the switch is going to be 26986380. And these are actually the same as the 19 to 22 early 22s. So I believe this part number is going to be 845-24205, and then this is going to be the fuse box under the, you know, the auxiliary fuse box, 855-24825. So, and the one piece that we are missing is actually what we just showed you from that install guide from the Upfitter website. It's going to be part number 87863270. That is the instrument panel auxiliary jet black. Basically what I've been doing is reading the install instructions versus the old install instructions, and really the only thing that's different with the 22.5s is you're going to have to do some wiring for this auxiliary fuse box to work. And what I mean by that is there are pins missing on the truck side of the harness. So there's a 14-pin harness in here. I believe it's going to be this one right here. The female connector on this side, the female connector on the truck side is actually missing 3 pins. I believe it's 11, 3, and 14, something like that. Basically, there's 3 pins missing. And guys, I'm going to drop you a link to the ZR2 forums. There's a guy on there, I'll get his name down below, that he did this install and he has been running with his switches without issue. But like I said, just be aware there are some wiring differences. So with the 22.5, they're telling us to run a cable from the battery cable up here. On the very bottom of this connector, there's supposedly a service port. Well, you could run it through there, but I almost don't see the point because I already have a wire going through that harness, and that is the power supply for the subwoofer. So yeah, that is one wiring notice that I saw was different from the previous installs to the newer truck installs. So just a couple pointers before we get started. I've removed all of that sheeting that was on this wire. It's actually down over there. If I end up having to reuse some of it, that's just fine. It is wrapped. It does have some thermal protection on it as well. So we might use that for the 1 or 2 feet that's basically going to be between the battery and the firewall. All right, guys, you can see this copper wire. This is actually some TIG wire for my TIG welder. I actually tied off the battery terminal end of the power wire that we need to feed through the firewall. If you guys look down here, that is tied down here. And the reason I decided to go up and through is because this connector, I don't know, guys, it looks pretty wide. If you look at the terminal on the fuse panel, this accessory fuse panel we're going to be putting in, you'll see that the terminal is on the left side. You'll see that that copper terminal is on the left side, not the right. So if you were to plug this in, you need to stick the other end of this terminal on the left terminal. And the reason you want to do that is because if you put it in the wrong terminal, this thing's not going to have any power because there's no lug on that side. So the fuse kit installed, this really isn't that hard. So you guys see all these terminals with the nuts that are loose. Basically all you do is you take the proper size terminal, put it in its slot, put the fuse in it, put the nut on it, and then there is a three-pronged, see this bracket right here, put that down and you're good to go. So you guys see this black wire running through the interior. That actually is that cable that we brought in. I might zip tie that up against something further back, but they want you to run it behind the HVAC duct. So basically just run it past the center console here. You guys can see that black wire coming through. That's actually the wire. And then right here you guys can see the plug that we were showing you earlier. And I did put the terminal in the left side, like I said. So, all right, guys, the next part of the Silverados finally showed up. I ordered this over 8 weeks ago. It finally showed up. Actually, I just got home from vacation today, and this part showed up. What we have here is the 2500, you know, basically 1500, 2500 trim ring that goes below the radio and above the center console. You guys will notice that there is a hole in this, and that hole is for the switches. You know, our auxiliary switch pad will go in here. Could have I used the stock piece and just cut a hole for it and, you know, hopefully everything fit? Yeah, you could have. But honestly, guys, for the $40 that this thing cost me, it wasn't worth my time trying to cut my stock piece open, having the correct little layout and, you know, making sure it's centered, level, all that stuff, when you could just buy it from General Motors and have no issue with it. There's a part number on here. It's going to be 87863270. Now, guys, if you have a ZR2, it is going to be the jet black color. If you guys have a non-ZR2, Silverado, I think the other option is brown. So black or brown, those are the only two options when ordering this. And actually, there's another thing you guys got to worry about. If you guys do not have a center console, as you guys can see, this cutout here on the bottom. If you guys don't have that, they do sell this without that. It's just the full panel. So make sure you get the right part number. Like I said, here's the part number for my ZR2 with the right color, with the jet black. You guys can see there on the right, it does say jet black. So 87863270. Now to install this, I don't think it's going to be too terribly difficult. The only thing that looks like is hiding behind this is two things. One is going to be over here on the left where those two dashes are. That is going to be below the steering column. And right here, this looks like this plugs in where the center console plugs in. So we might have to tear the center console apart a little bit to get this installed, but I don't think this should be a big ordeal. So let's go ahead, get the Silverado torn apart, get this installed, get the switches installed, and also get all the wiring around. This is going to plug into a gray plug that's underneath the dash. There's actually a plug that has a cover on it. We need to remove that cover, plug that in. This will plug into the back of the switches over here. And that should be about it. There's some little plastic Christmas tree things to plug in. And then the wire that we ran through the firewall that I just mentioned, that will plug in right here. And that will be everything that we need to plug in on the interior. All right, guys, so tearing the 2022 and newer, actually 22 and a half and newer dashboard has been really, tearing this apart has been really easy. Guys, so this left panel, honestly, just pull from the bottom, pull from over here. That thing pops out, I have that in the back seat. The right side of the driver's side, I simply removed a 7mm screw, pulled out on it, and as you guys can see, it's already starting to come out. So did get the fuse box installed. You guys can see that right here. If you guys look, there's basically screw here, screw over here, Lift up this trim panel on the right a little bit. This side's completely open from, because you'd remove this outside panel. And yeah, that's all you need to do. I did see some concerns about this fuse box rattling. We may put some rubber around that to isolate that. But now that we've got that installed, we need to install all the plugs. So these two plugs right here, this plug needs to plug into a wrapped up plug somewhere in here. If you guys can see this red and blue wire, that's that power cable coming from the firewall. We got that plugged in. Guys, I did have to kind of reroute that wiring underneath here. It was just twisted and discombobulated. Finally got that rotated just the right way, and we got that plugged in, so that's good to go. All right, guys, if you could see that, we did get the gray plug plugged into the other one. I'll show you the cap in a second, but basically, like I said, this is just a seal, block off plate, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, so this was plugged in. Unplug this. All right, guys, it looks like we have exploded the interior. Well, we kind of have, but basically what we did was we started with these little trim panels over here. Started by putting my hand underneath them and just slowly popping it off. And as you guys can see, there's like 4 or 5 retaining clips here. Started at the bottom, pulled this out, was able to get my hand, stick it up here, pop these all out, and I didn't break any of the clips or anything. So do the same thing for the other side. You guys will see I did tape this off. This is a black chrome plastic-ish finish on here, so we didn't want to scratch that up. So tape that off. Over here on the driver's side, we pretty much did the same thing. We started with the left fuse panel, popped that loose. I was able to get all of the controls and everything over here popped off. And guys, since I had the one with the hole in it, I just used this as a model. You know, here are all of the clips. Just real carefully popped them off, popped everything loose, and we got this lower section off. So, all right, guys, you'll see that I've pulled both pieces out of the truck. And that is because the one with the hole in it was cut too large. Guys, I've been fighting with this for a couple days now, and finally I reached out to the guy, William. I'll have his screen name down below. And asked him, hey, when you installed the 22 plus switch, did you have a hole, you know, in your panel? He said, no, he just cut it. So I don't know if it's due to the GM strike or just quality control taking a dump, but basically this hole is too big for the switch. You guys can see that I've basically made a template out of paper and tape for the switch. So what we basically do is take the back of that switch, drew a line around it, cut it out, put tape around that, then put that tape on paper, make it a very nice template. And we're gonna have to cut that into this panel. Because like I said, I put that switch in the panel that I bought and it doesn't fit. So either the switch is wrong or the panel was cut wrong. Just take the OEM piece, cut a hole in it, grab the template off there, cut that hole out with a Dremel. Then, you know, I'll cut it kind of small, and then we'll just file it and make sure it gets nice and tight and where it's supposed to be. Because there are some locating pins. There's one here, there's one here, there's one here. We'll make sure those are correct, and then we'll just kind of custom fit and file this plastic piece up until it gets tight. All right, guys, as you can see, we did get the switches installed, and if you guys can hear, those relays popping. That is because the relays are over there in that fuse box underneath that panel right there, and the switches are activating it. So the switch panel is fully active. Earlier in this video, you remember that we had to install that fuse box. Well, we had to remove this gray plug. Well, on the truck side of this plug, we actually need to add 3 pins. There's 2 ways that you can do this. You can either buy a pre-terminated, you know, 6-inch length of wire with the pin in it, or you can go ahead and buy the pins yourself. So I actually bought this from Mauser. The part number is going to be 272-711-4415202, or as you guys can see, the manufacturer part number 711-4415202. I think I bought 20 of these for like $10. And basically, these are the pins that you guys can see. You see them in the bag. So you can buy the pre-terminated harness. I'll have that part number on the screen down below, or just buy the pins and run your own wire. And what we need to do is add 3 pins to pin number 3, 11, and 13. Those 3 pins are not present on our truck because it's just the way they were wired from the factory. And what you're going to do is you're going to run those 3 wires to any 12-volt switched ignition source. So basically, you know, what William did, the guy that actually did the swap in the first place, ran all three of them over to the passenger side fuse panel. And I believe he used F26. So fuse 26, it's a 10 amp USB charge. And so he basically said that's the easiest way to install this, is to wire those three wires together, run it over to the passenger side fuse box, use fuse number F26, it's the USB charger one, and basically tie all those three wires together, and that will provide the power source that we need for the indicator lights, the backlit, as well as, like I said, I think whether it'll turn on and off with the 12-volt ignition. And so yeah, that's gonna be it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. If you guys want to see the wrap-up of this video, you know, the accessories that we're going to install, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on your bell notifications. If you guys want to help support the channel, I'll try to provide links for all the part numbers and everything that we use down below. And also make sure you check out our website, BonecrrusherSS.com. Any purchases made there go right back into the truck, the channel, the projects, the Corvette, etc. So thanks, guys. Have a great one.